Hello and welcome to the Advice Nut, the Advice Nut at live.com, the Advice Nut at live.com. Let's get to our first email. I really don't know what to do anymore. I'm getting too tired of it all. She hits me when she's really mad. I don't know how to get out. I keep thinking it's me that makes her abuse me and it's my fault, and sometimes maybe I need help getting out. I live in Canada, Ontario, Cornwall. I have no family here, so it's kind of hard to stay with any of them. Otherwise, I would. I'm a recovering heroin addict and have been sober since last August. In the last 11 months that we have been together, she's kicked me out 11 times, and I run away to a shelter, and they're fed up with me, so I'm getting my own place, and it's in the works. We also just lost a baby 8 weeks before due date to the placenta tearing. I'm at a loss for the whole thing. I don't want my head to get more messed up than it already is. I need help to move on with my life. Is there any help for me that will guide me to do the right thing? I'm sure I'm not alone in this. You know what? You're right. You are not alone. I've done a segment on women who abuse men. And again, and I stress this, you're not a punk. You're not less of a man if you call the police on a woman that abuses you. You're not. So I suggest, I don't care how much you love this person, how much you care for this person, you are not entitled to be abused. The same way a woman isn't entitled to be abused, no man. And you are typical of being abused, because you said sometimes you think it's your fault. If you haul off and slap that woman, how many times is it going to be her fault that you hit her? Another issue you have is you're a recovering addict, and I commend you on being clean and sober for 11 months. I commend you on that, because that's not an easy task. But you don't need to be in that type of environment, because a lot of times, and no, I've never been a drug addict, but I've worked with them for many years. And these kinds of situations can draw you back into that world of drugs. Stress does it. Your self-esteem is low. That can do it, because when people are on drugs, and you know this, people think they can do things that just are not humanly possible. But it's the influence of the drugs. But you don't need to be in this type of environment. You need to separate yourself. Okay? You really do. If you go on my website, I did pull up some information. I'm not familiar with Canada, but I did pull up some information for you. And they're like sober homes, people who are clean and sober, where they can go to get help, because you need it. And you also need counseling, because your self-esteem is really low. Don't ever think that you brought that abuse on, because let me tell you something. I don't care how upset I get as an adult, because I work with people who could really get you upset if you let them. I've never hit anyone because of something they said or did. I walk away. She needs to learn to walk away. And don't misunderstand what I'm about to say. You lost a baby. That's not a good thing. However, you have a second chance to improve your relationship with this woman or get out of this relationship before you bring children into this. And if you do bring children into this, you're really going to be stuck. Because not only do you have to deal with your child's mother, you have a child you have to consider. And I got a sneaking suspicion she's not going to be considering that child if she wants to haul off and slap you and you have one with her. So, go to my website, theadvicenut.tripod.com. There's some information if you don't already know it. If you already know it, know about these places and these programs, and pass it on to someone else. Also, on my website, there's a toll-free number for, it's an abuse hotline. Okay? But I don't want you to go back into that world of drugs, because drugs, as you know, makes you, give you that false sense of something until you're down from that high. And a lot of times it just makes your situation worse. So I'm pulling for you and keep me updated with what's going on. That's the Advice Nut, theadvicenut@live.com, theadvicenut@live.com. You can check me out on MySpace under The Advice Nut and Black Planet. Until next time.